What's going on, football fans? It's J.R. Clark coming at you with another rendition of the Pound for Pound. This is a post-Monday Night Football rendition. Our boys played in prime time last night. Game ended late. I got to get up early to go to work, so I couldn't record post-game, like, initial reactions. So you're getting it a day later, but still same enthusiasm, same drive, but with a little bit more time to actually think on it and soak it in. The final score, as y'all know by now, was 23-20, so it looked like yet another nail-biter. But I don't really think it was as close as the score indicated, I guess you could say. Yes, as our cardiac Falcons have to do, it always going to come down to the wire, especially this year with the injuries that we're dealing with. But Dan Quinn's starting to put himself together a somewhat solid defense, at least as solid as it can be with the parts and pieces that he does have. And speaking of some of those parts and pieces, man, how nice was it to get Grady Jarrett back? Holy crap, that defensive line looked like a totally different unit than the past 2 weeks. We actually had a pass rush. Now, granted, that pass rush was helped out by an atrocious Giants offensive line, but needless to say, they were actually able to get some pressure on the quarterback. There have been games before where we're going up against backups and stuff like that, and we still weren't able to get home. So it was nice to have the heart and soul of the defensive line back in the lineup, causing havoc with, 2 sacks and 3 tackles on the night. Not bad for your first game back from an ankle sprain. And then, when he gets going, Grady Jarrett, that is, then it seems like, everybody else really starts to pick it up. I mean, the almost sack master Vic Beasley got close again a handful of times. And then, Tack McKinley came through on one. So, we ended the night with, 4 sacks. So, we ain't seen an outburst like that since we played the Bengals and Tack McKinley had 3 sacks. But I was more or less referring to the 6-sack night against Dallas last year. But, nonetheless, yet, once again, we suffered yet another season-ending injury to starting right guard Brandon Fusco. Signed him from San Francisco in the offseason, and he's been playing pretty good. He's definitely a better run blocker than pass blocker, but he's been creating some decent holes for a few weeks now, so he'll be sorely missed, as yet dealing with another injury. News broke a little later, about a couple hours ago, that the Falcons re-signed Sean Harlow to the practice squad. So, kind of give him another shot, maybe another look at him. Don't be surprised if he ends up on the active roster for next week, or not next week, but the week after, rather. Then we signed a former third-round pick. I'm not even going to try to butcher the man's name, but he's an offensive lineman, third-round pick from Seattle a few years back. But I'm going to go ahead and call it. That doesn't really ramp up a lot of confidence, in my, opinion. Not like Seattle's had a offensive line in a while, so I don't know. We'll see how that guy turns out, if he's just a backup or if they're done. I mean, the good thing is we got a bye week next week, so we got time to figure out the right guard position. But I kind of hope that they don't roll with Ben Garland. I mean, I don't mind Ben Garland. He's okay in a spot start, but I don't need Ben Garland starting and playing a full game, Ben Garland has kind of shown what he is, and that's a solid but not inspiring backup. And that's fine. You need those kind of guys on your roster. But I hope that they don't pencil in Ben Garland for a full start or whatever. But all right, let's go back to talking about some of the good things of the game. Matt Ryan continues to look real good. He continues to perform real well off that play action, even when the run game isn't necessarily going. But they got enough of the run game going last night to make them respect it, to where that play action was working real nice last night. Broke another franchise record for consecutive attempts without an interception. So for all you number 2 haters out there who were ready to run him and Sark out of town after the Eagles game, I ask that you politely back off. Then the run game needs to get going more so than it has been the last couple weeks. And I'd be interested to see how they do it now that, Brandon Fusco is out for the year. But they got to do something to give Tevin Coleman and Ito Smith some more space. You saw that nice run with Coleman, scampering in for a touchdown. That was a good, real good play design out there. And, to get him open, and real good job on his part of seeing the good cutback lanes. But we need to do something to get the backs more involved. If it's, I saw, good bit of little crossing routes to the backs. That's the one thing that made us real deadly in 2016 was how much Ryan spread the ball around to everybody, right? And it seems like they're kind of getting back to that. I'm not saying that, we're going to go back to the Super Bowl, because I right now, I think that window has closed for this year, which sucks because it's, here in Atlanta and you want to be the first team to play in their home Super Bowl. So, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, not with all these injuries. We'll be doing good, I think, to eke out a winning record, much less get into the playoffs. But that's any team that suffers this many injuries from their starters. I mean, the whole middle of the defense has been gutted. But anyway, I think that if they can get the backs more involved as far as catching the ball, that may be able to supplement some of the run game, with the offensive line woes right now. But I really hope that they figure out a good way to get more holes open up and more space, because that does nothing but fuel and generate that, the play action pass, which Ryan is such a good play action passer, between that and the naked boots and things like that. But I was watching NFL Network in a little clip that I saw on Twitter, and I heard something that I didn't think I was ever going to hear. But the guy was saying how it was nice to have Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator. And I bet you wish the Giants had Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator. I just had to throw that in there because it seems like, Sark is really settling in and doing a much better job this year than he did last year, as many of us figured that would be the case. Most of us figured that Matt Ryan tends to perform better when he has a better understanding of what the offensive coordinator is looking for and wanting him to do. And that just takes a little bit of time, getting to know each other and things like that. I mean, because how else are you going to throw a real nice big bomb to Marvin Hall? I mean, for those who don't think Matt Ryan can throw a deep ball, that 47-yard touchdown pass to Marvin Hall should prove that a little different. Another sour note, yet again another week without a Julio Jones touchdown. But if you saw his clip at the end of the game, and they asked him about it, the Monday Night Football crew asked him about it, and he gave a real good answer. It's an answer that he's given our local media a handful of times, but it's interesting to hear him say it on a national scale, is that, he's not looking for stats. He's looking for wins. And, he said it himself, when you got 4 sets and 6 sets of eyes on you, that means somebody else is open. And if he can create the space for somebody else to eat, then he's still doing his job. And he's still being productive. I mean, he's leading or in second place right now in receiving yards as from the wide receiver position. So it's not like he's out there just collecting a paycheck. The man's working. The man's commanding so much attention. He's commanding attention when he's not on the field. I mean, because there was that Marvin Hall touchdown. Julio Jones wasn't even on the field. So if the team, the Giants automatically assume it's going to be a run play because you didn't have Julio Jones on the field. So even when the man's not on the field, he's affecting the game. So I hope that everybody can realize that and, maybe not worry so much about the touchdown numbers. But that's just my opinion. If we're winning games and you're outscoring opponents, who's it matter who the ball's getting to? I mean, we've seen what happens when we focus on just Julio Jones and try to force it to just Julio Jones. And it's not good. Because he commands so much attention that our offense becomes predictable. And I would much rather our offense be unpredictable than, focusing on just Julio Jones trying to get him touchdowns. Now, let's talk about the man of the match, to use a soccer term. Let's talk about the game's MVP, Giorgio Tavecchio, just like everybody called it. I mean, how you going to sign a dude off the street? Now, off the street is a relative term. He did kick for the Raiders, for a full year when Janikowski was injured. And we had him in on the preseason, so it's not like they didn't know the guy. But the guy to come in and to fill in for an injured Matt Bryant and do nothing but sink a 46, a 50, and a 56-yard field goal, I'll go ahead and give it to him. He is the man of the hour. He definitely gets my vote for game MVP. And so that was really cool to see that. In a game that the offense didn't necessarily look clicking like it has been for the past few weeks, you were able to gut out a win. And a much-needed win, at home, on Monday Night Football, heading into your bye. Which hasn't necessarily been a strong suit of Dan Quinn in his tenure. I think, last year we lost before going into the bye. And I know the year we went to the Super Bowl, we got trounced by Philadelphia before we went into the bye. So, Dan Quinn isn't necessarily the greatest on the weeks before the bye. But he's great on Monday Night Football, though. What is he, 4-0 with the Falcons? Every year that we've played on Monday Night Football, I don't even know if Dan Quinn's lost on Monday Night Football yet. So if we can just go ahead and send a memo to the league, hey, can we play on Monday night every night? I think we'd be in good shape. But as far as, heading into the bye, keep your eyes peeled to see if the Falcons make any more roster moves. Maybe getting in a new linebacker or another offensive lineman, something of that nature. But it's interesting to see what they do with Sean Harlow and Jeremiah Grace, which they both have brought back and signed to the practice squad. I wonder if either one of them will make it to the active roster before next week. Mind you, when I say next week, I mean the next game. So it'll be interesting to see. I think I'm going to try to get together with Toby here soon and do maybe a State of the Union type video. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.